Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. And ladies and gentlemen, over the past few days, I've really been getting a lot of information together that I think is going to be powerful for this specific video. Just so no one misinterprets what I'm doing in this video, I'm going to explain the title so that nobody misunderstands where I'm coming from. Guys, what I like to do, I like to look at worst case scenarios, because an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure, and because if you project for the worst and hope for the best, you can never be disappointed. You're always proactive, and that's something I need all of my investors that follow me to do. Nothing I ever say is financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But ooh la la, we've been making a lot of money recently. Remember, guys, I went on a limb the other day and said, I do believe we are in a confirmed permanent uptrend for a while. When we look at this recent market uptrend, we saw some corrections along the way, but we hit much higher levels. Of course, we corrected again. That's very healthy. But now I believe we're on this second hill, on this type of uptrend relative to the 2017-18 bull cycle. We only have past history to look at, use as a reference for what could be potentially going on. History does not predict the future, but history often rhymes. And if we see this melody yet again, there are going to be a lot of happy XRP community members. I can tell you that. If we are in fact in this second uptrend for this hill, all of you need to prepare to take profits. Remember, we learned some hard lessons from this uptrend and not taking profits. Make sure you do that even if it's only a percentage of each crypto you hold. Because at the bare minimum, you walk away with house money playing for you. That's something smart that you should consider. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about the very real scenario that could happen. What if, in fact, XRP is deemed a security? What happens? What happens to our investment? Guys, do you guys remember EOS? This crypto was deemed to be a security, paid a fine, and it did not go down in price. It did not get regulated out of existence. I can in fact buy plenty of it and it's okay. The reason there's a big deal around XRP is because I think there's much more going on at play behind the scenes than meets the eye. And I know all of you know that too. Now, what am I getting at here? Why does the title of this video seem so misleading? What if XRP is deemed a security, but not in the way we think? What if, guys, XRP is deemed to be a derivative security? A derivative security being a financial contract between two parties for buying or selling a property, asset, commodity, or other securities at a predetermined price within a specific time period. Generally, a derivative security is a contract representing a group of underlying assets. The most common underlying assets are bonds, stocks, commodities, currencies, market index, and interest rates. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so interesting to me. This has been something that has caught my attention months ago, actually. But I have to cover it now because I believe that this is the worst case scenario for XRP. We get a classification that sounds bad. What, we're a security now? We're a security? But it's actually one of the best things that could happen. Listen, XRP is so special, in my opinion, that they're going to have to come up with a classification around it. It's going to be the first crypto of its kind to receive regulatory clarity, to receive a classification for it. Guys, BitBoy said it the other day. Do you really think it's all about this SEC lawsuit and the SEC determining the future XRP? Absolutely not. We have to look at the IMF. We have to look at all the supranational institutions and central banks. This is all a distraction from what's really going on. Ladies and gentlemen, the IMF has stated themselves, RippleNet is designed as a wholesale payment system without being subject to payment system specific requirements. Remember, Brian Brooks at the OCC gave regulatory clarity around this, other than requirements posed by banks. There is, however, some limited scrutiny by FinCEN and the Federal Reserve. There is no dedicated regulatory regime for new types of digital services, such as gateways, APIs, NFC access, or digital wallet services. That is why I said Brian Brooks' role at the OCC was so important. Then later in the same document, they talk about how RippleNet, XRP, are systemically important to the financial system. It states right here, in view of the possibility of new and existing services becoming systemically important in the future, the circumstances under which a payment service provider or its payments, clearing, and settlements activity could be considered systemically important. Now, ladies and gentlemen, something that's extremely important and one of my favorite parts in this video is the human element. Because human beings, we give away a lot more than what we can say. All of these high-level officials and individuals are under NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. But right here, this is one of the biggest indicators I've seen that lets me know what XRP future holds.
Can you see those? Oh, there's 2 votes.
Let me try.
Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? Oh, they're over here. That's easier. You want to take one? Go for it. The first one's for you. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you think it's an accident that the Ripple CEO seemed to be clowning an IMF official on that stage? There's no accidents when it comes to this financial system. Brad Garlinghouse seemed a little too confident as to the future and what it holds. The reason I'm bringing up the IMF is because we just recently saw the IMF approve a historic $650 billion SDR allocation. This is to stimulate the global economy, injecting liquidity. And now, after years of being dormant, the SDR has utility again. I don't think that's an accident, as XRP has been speculated to be the potential ESDR for this upcoming SDR Reevaluation. Now, before we can continue, I need you all to listen to this interview with Julia Chatterley and the IMF head, and remember that Julia has been in the front lines covering Ripple and XRP for the past 2 years now. I don't think that's an accident, and use that context I just gave you when listening to what she said.
US dollar as the world's reserve currency in its current form remains the world's reserve currency, or do you think digital X, and you can fill it in if you choose to or probably not, has taken over? Kristalina, to you first.
Yes, the US will be reserve currency in 10 years.
A digital or the current form?
Whether it is the current one or it is a digital dollar is to be seen. That is, let's get together in 10 years and see what we have in our wallet. Is it a digital dollar, digital wallet, or we still rely on the dollar as we know it? And it is very likely it might be both. Why? Because the strength of the US economy, the depth of the capital markets in the United States, and above all, the innovation capability of US companies. That is what is lifting up the United States. And we will see likely some changes in the composition of reserve currencies. And I'm pretty sure there would be presence of digital in that world 10 years from now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing on the screen right now is the historic SDR allocations. The $650 billion SDR allocation would help meet the long-term global needs for reserve assets. The SDR is going to be a reserve asset of the planet. We see in 2009 the largest allocation of SDRs occurred, and it was $161 billion. That was after a financial crisis, and in 2021 they're doing this after the financial collapse of 2020 and even earlier than that. What we're experiencing now is a banking system failure. The SDR is being brought in to help stimulate the global economy and help the world recover. Or at least that's how they're going to sell it to the public. I believe there are various other reasons for why it's coming. Now back to that interview that I just showed you. Georgieva did say there will be the presence of digital as a reserve currency with the SDR. And something I need all of you to know is they're making their CBDCs for the entire planet right now. For those of you that don't know, the current SDR basket includes the US dollar, the euro, the won, the yen, and the pound sterling. The reason that's so important is because we see that the IMF is choosing to extend this SDR valuation basket until July 31st, 2022. This aligns perfectly with the adoption of XRP and numerous things going live for it and this ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, the SDR basket of currencies include the 5 major currencies I just mentioned, and they just so happen to be currencies that are about to go digital. We see the Digital Pound Foundation, and they have a member of Ripple on them. We also see Bitcoin. They're already building that narrative. We also see Japan's digital yen coming in 2022. Let's see when exactly they come, but the time frame is shortening. In China, we see the digital yuan, and they're the first major economy that have their digital currency live, already being used by millions upon millions of people. This is a global financial paradigm shift, and almost no one is paying attention. The Central Bank of France has said XRP is the basis for the digital euro. That is confirmed from a document found by King Solomon. That is more powerful than anything I've ever heard. It makes us know that what they're discussing behind closed doors is very real. It's not conspiracy or speculation. It is the ultimate plan. Now I've shown you the digital currencies for the 4 other countries outside of the United States. However, what is the US's role in this new SDR, in this new economy? Me personally, I suspect we are going to go back to the mean. Other countries will catch up to us, but we will still be part of that reserve basket, as Kristalina Georgieva, the IMF, had said. Here's a video of Glen Hutchins with Jay Clayton discussing the future crypto in the US, because they all know that XRP specifically, amongst other digital assets, are here.
The world is going to change in finance when we connect the private blockchains via the Bitcoin or Ethereum or other protocol to the other blockchains in the world. Have a global blockchain that's the World Wide Web of blockchains that will fundamentally change the way in which not only do we move value around the world at the speed of light, but also in which we actually fundamentally change the way in which we compute, because it's the 4th computing paradigm I've experienced in my lifetime, the decentralized computing paradigm. That is the vision of where we can really go with this. That's transformational. Now, the first step will be the intranets, the blockchains, as those get deployed. But that's not the end point. That's just a first step. I can go into all that stuff at greater length if you'd like me to, but that's a beginning.
No, look, transformative. I want to go back to something we talked about around monetary policy, which is if this happens, which I say if, I think you're saying when. I get it.
You have a little bit more to do with the if than we do. I'm just kidding.
No, and look, Jay, my view is it's happening.
Yeah.
What is the U.S.'s role?
Yeah.
Well, that's where
I'm gonna go further
point.
because
do my right hand. Yes, you're right.
Because we're both involved in companies that are doing it. We'd like to do it here, but we're gonna do it.
Would you guys listen to that? Jay Clayton is involved in a company that's doing it. They would like to do it in the United States, but Jay Clayton filed that lawsuit against Ripple. We've been going on this long, dragged-out battle for a while now. We know the conflict of interest that has existed with Clayton. He's pro-Bitcoin and pro-Ether because it helps his pockets and his bottom line, and XRP is a threat to that. However, this goes much deeper than that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to happen not if, but when. Regulators are trying to push the when back as much as possible. The old legacy systems are trying to make their own competing XRP alternatives, and they can't. They're trying to throw a monkey wrench in Ripple's plans, but they're failing. This lawsuit is an illusion, because behind closed doors, the IMF, the World Bank, the BIS, all these countries have already decided. The Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 met its demise in 1971 when the dollar was officially taken off the gold standard. This means we've seen the rise of the petrodollar system. Where am I going with this, you may ask? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment in history they're calling a new Bretton Woods moment. A new currency system. We've already heard them discuss that it's going to happen. The ESDR has been discussed by the IMF and the World Economic Forum. And it's all because the petrodollar system is failing. Now, before I can continue, I need to tell you a brief history of the petrodollar system. After 1971, this led to the creation of the petrodollar system where the US and Saudi Arabia agreed to set oil prices in US dollars. This meant that any country that purchased oil from the Saudi government would have to exchange its currency to US dollars before completing the sale. That led the remaining OPEC countries to follow suit and price their oil in US currency. Needless to say that Saudi Arabia has been a big beneficiary of this new system. And I don't think it's a coincidence that just last year, Saudi Arabia was the president of the G20. It was very interesting that they were talking about infrastructure being called an asset class and the digitization of the global economy. Just as we're transitioning from one system to the new, the Saudi government was in charge of the entire planet in this specific moment. And I don't think that's coincidence. The reason I don't think that's coincidence is because we have numerous photographs of the Ripple CEO at the same dinner tables as powerhouses. The IMF's former leader, Christine Lagarde, was there. People from Singapore, the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the IMF, the BIS, they were all here. We see plenty of powerhouse names with the Ripple CEO involved. All of this matters. This is politics. These are connections. This is how the world really works. Never get it twisted. Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, also stated a new virtual currency could ease reliance on the US dollar as the global reserve. Imagine an ESDR with XRP, which is currency agnostic, bringing currencies in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. High speed 3-second transaction times. 3-second settlements. This is what the world is looking for. The World Economic Forum labeled XRP as most relevant for wholesale central bank digital currencies. Remember all of this. And then remember this term, derivative security. The value of a derivative security is derived from or dependent on the performance of underlying assets or group of assets. These underlying assets are traded separately from the derivatives. And then, ladies and gentlemen, remember this document shown by Mickey B. Fresh, showing the tokenization of real estate, showing that Codius is still hard at work in the background. Codius is XRP's way into the derivatives market. Codius is a way we can tokenize real estate. We're looking for tokenized securities, tokenized gold, silver, commodities. Ladies and gentlemen, if XRP does not fit the definition of a derivative security, I don't know what does. And that might be one of the best things we've ever heard. Now guys, we can't continue with this narrative of XRP possibly being deemed a derivative security without diving deep into a document and a video presented by King Solomon. Please give his channel a subscribe and a follow, as he's been hard at work yet again making new videos, and they've been very powerful recently. By the way, Solomon, I am subscribed. This is just an account I'm not signed in from. Don't hate me, bro. Love you. Now guys, the specific video I'll be referring you guys to that King Solomon made was this one. June 29th, 2020, $25 billion per second. DTCC is a term, company, that you need to keep in your minds forever. DTCC is a member of Hyperledger, and it states it was contributed to by NTT Data and Ripple. They had a document titled Modernizing U.S. Equity Markets Infrastructure, and the problem they had was real-time settlements, meaning they need massive capital and securities to make trading activities. Guys, from the same document, the DTCC stated real-time settlement could introduce inefficiencies when Nostro-Vostro builds up. Remember, Greg Kidd stated XRP will replace Nostro-Vostro accounts. In a regular low volatility trading day, the DTCC processes over 1 million shares a second, and during peak trading hours, this could peak to 300 million shares a second, or $25 billion a second, and this has extreme systemic risks. Solomon then goes on to find in this document that they state any tech implemented to replace this old system needs to meet industry standards of handling up to 2 to 3 times the market volume peak. XRP can scale up to 65,000 transactions a second. DTCC has 25,000 during peak hours. XRP meets that criteria. And when I first found that, I found it very powerful. Excellent work, as the DTCC, in my opinion, will be Ripple and XRP's way into the derivatives market. That opens us up to quadrillions of dollars worth of value. This is why we keep saying this is so special. XRP has numerous classifications it could fall under: derivative security, or SDR. It's very interesting to see. But ladies and gentlemen, the SDR will come after CBDCs are already here. The IMF put out this blog 2 years ago stating how to make negative interest rates work. Ladies and gentlemen, they are trying to get rid of cash. They're going to get rid of cash by disincentivizing you from getting out of the digital currency system with negative interest rates. This will be a penalty every time you try and take money out of the bank. If it's a negative 2% interest rates, 2% will be taken out of your cash withdrawals. That won't feel very nice. So you'll want to just keep it in the banks. with their digital currency system. And it just so happens to be the case that Ripple is developing a private ledger for central banks, launching central bank digital currencies so they can have maximum privacy, while the people, our privacy is gone. Everything will be tracked. It's about full control. This is the unfortunate reality of the situation that's coming. XRP will be here, helping all these CBDCs grow and flourish. But at the same time, CBDCs will be made for the people. And in my personal opinion, it's going to be a type of two-tiered system where the central banks have the real money, the stable CBDCs that are not inflatable, backed by XRP and possibly gold too. But retail, the people, they will still have central bank digital currencies where they inflate the value. They inflate the currencies and drop the value, make us poorer, negative interest rates. And Martin Volk, in my personal opinion, had the best visual I've ever seen of what this system could be. The coming reset of the international monetary system. You have a tier 1 system. The SDR would be defined as equal to a specific weight of gold, possibly. We have an SDR. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is where XRP's involvement kicks in. XRP is a bridge currency and would act as a bridge between central bank digital currencies, which themselves lack interoperability. XRP's price would be defined as a specific quantity of SDRs, just like local currencies. Here we have all these central banks. These countries will have their own CBDCs, in my opinion, and those CBDCs, those will be fine. Wholesale CBDCs. But then, in my opinion, there will be retail CBDCs. We still have to see how it plays out. We still have to see how exactly every single step of this system will be launched. But in my personal opinion, this is how they're going to play this. It makes the most sense to me. How exactly will gold be involved? I'm not sure. But it has to be, because the old system is failing, and the central banks have been accumulating gold for a very long time while artificially keeping the price down. That's not an accident, and don't let anyone tell you it is. But guys, I've mentioned before that I've said the ESDR is coming. So I need to prove to you that I know for a fact it is, as the World Economic Forum mentioned it in this article titled "A Digital Currency Should Be Adopted as the World's Leading Reserve Currency." They talk here about the Triffin dilemma. The Triffin dilemma comes as having a currency be the world reserve and a national currency of the United States. A two-edged sword, and this is the issue. America's outside influence over the monetary system needs to be reduced in the eyes of the World Economic Forum. All that is needed is a major reserve currency that is not trusted by a national authority. That is powerful. Gold was once supposed to fill this role, but it could not meet demand for global liquidity and a store of value. So they're telling us gold, at least on its own, will not be the solution for this new system because it lacks the liquidity, the transportability of value. A better option, they say, is the IMF special drawing rights, which the Second Amendment of the body's Articles of Agreement asserts should be the world's principal reserve asset. Very interesting. It states here a key hurdle for the SDR has always been the geopolitical interests and priorities of the reserve issuing central banks, not just the US but also the Eurozone, China, Japan, and the UK. But the advent of cryptocurrencies may offer another way. The private sector can work directly with central banks to create a digital SDR to use as a unit of account and store of value. Let's say that again. The private sector can work directly with central banks to create a digital SDR as a unit of account and store of value. The private sector. The private sector. The private sector. They're letting you know what the plan is. Such an ESDR would, in a sense, be the quintessential reserve asset because it would be fully backed by reserve currencies and the IMF determined ratio. The supply of ESDRs would be completely dependent on market demand. Of course, to enable a gradual shift from the US dollar to an ESDR as the dominant international currency, a sufficiently large ESDR denominated money market would need to be created. To that end, a politically neutral body owned by the private sector central banks should be established to issue that asset. Participating central banks and asset managers would then have to swap their reserve currency holdings for ESDRs. But guys, how are they going to manage to roll out this system? How are they going to do it? They're going to make everyone feel the pain. They're going to push digital payments. They're going to get people to want it through stimulus. Did you guys remember when dead cats were getting stimulus? People that didn't deserve stimulus were getting stimulus. Dead people were getting stimulus faster than real people that actually needed it. It took so long to get your stimulus. They shown the cracks in the infrastructure. So now, the next time around when we have to feel the pain again, everyone will want this new digital stimulus solution. Digital dollars. Digital whatever country's currency you have. But you can ask, oh bull, you still need more. We have to be in a drastic financial situation for an SDR to come in and replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency, and that will come with hyperinflation. It will come through hyperinflation because what needs to happen is that faith in central bank issued fiat currency needs to go down the drain. Guys, to come to a point of hyperinflation, something dramatic, cataclysmic has to happen with the world economy. Now, I'm not sure what that could be. Maybe an artificial pausing of the world economy. Maybe lockdowns could possibly do that. I'm not sure what would make people and the world governments, one, comply, and two, do that. But that seems like a very real potential that must be entertained. And if that does happen, then I 100% believe this new system is going to come to fruition. But then at the same time, we also have to think of how they're injecting artificial liquidity since September 2019, when the banking system officially collapsed. The US repo markets collapsed. We see exactly what happened right there. When we saw this happen in the repo market, an emergency intervention was made by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, injecting $75 billion in liquidity in the repo markets. And this continued for a very long time, all the way up until June 2020. I'm not sure if they've continued doing it, but that's something that is a signal that this system has reached its end. Right now we're being propped up by artificial measures. This is an artificial economy. This is fantasy economics at play, and that fantasy will end in calamity. Now guys, there is hope. XRP is an asset that can be used for settlement. It's kind of like gold that can instantly teleport around the world. It doesn't actually move value, and there's nothing to settle afterwards. This was stated by the Ripple CTO David Schwartz, as well as this. Why is XRP called XRP? The three-letter currency codes are formed by appending a single character to a two-letter country code of the issuing country. Since the US, their country code is US, dollars have USD as their code. However, for assets not used by any country, the first letter must be an X. No country code starting with X will be issued. So far, for example, the chemical symbol for gold is AU, and gold's currency code is XAU. This is very interesting because we remember that they were discussing in that World Economic Forum article that all that is needed for an ESDR major reserve asset is an asset that is not issued by a national authority. Remember this. XRP could be two different things at the same time, or one or the other. It could be a derivative security, and this could be a technical classification given at the end of this case. It could be a technical classification given from Congress, or it could be an ESDR, part of the SDR basket of currencies. CBDCs are coming. XRP is here. And the reason the title of this video was called, "Are they about to make XRP illegal?" is because of government action made in the 1930s. Executive Order 6102 was signed by FDR in 1933, confiscating gold from US citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason this is important is because the only thing that can prevent us from getting rich, full-blown, filthy, stinking rich from XRP will be government intervention and them taking our XRP from our hands. But they can't take it from our wallets. They cannot defeat the ledger. They cannot defeat that nature. However, they can make it really hard for retail investors to continue to own it. Right here, if you Google this question, can SDRs be owned by individuals? It states SDRs can only be held by IMF member countries, not by individuals. It states it can be held by investment companies or corporations. But this is the dilemma. This is the gravity of the situation. Ripple allowed XRP to trade on the open market for retail investors to build an ecosystem around it. They needed us. The public sector, the governments deferred to the private sector, and that's why we have the opportunity to get godfathered in to this new system and make mass sums of wealth. The only thing that could prevent us from seeing the incredible figures XRP has in store for us, 3, 4, and even potentially a 5-figure XRP could be before us. But one scenario still exists that we must discuss, and that's the XRP buyback scenario. Now, let me say this very quickly. There are people that will disagree with what I'm saying. They'll say there is utility for retail, there is micropayments, etc. And yes, that is true. They are building out the ecosystem for retail. We have the Flare network, which will allow us to continue to have more utility for XRP and retail investors. That does not mean, though, that this cannot happen, especially if XRP is as important as we think it could be. This is just something to keep in your minds. In the event of an XRP buyback scenario, trust me when I tell you, I believe it will be a very generous buyback. They'll pay us a very beautiful value for the XRP we own. And it's because we were in so early, and we didn't get in a day too late. This is the only way we can't realize the full-blown benefits of XRP's price appreciation, as it's a foregone conclusion based on all the documents we've seen throughout the years that we are in the correct asset. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the XRP worst case scenarios. XRP gets deemed a derivative security, and we tackle the derivatives market, tokenized stocks, tokenized real estate, etc. Or XRP is an ESDR, made illegal for retail to own. And we have to sell it in a buyback scenario at a much higher price. The worst case scenario for XRP is not whether or not it'll go to zero, because it won't. The worst case scenario for XRP is whether or not it'll go to 3 figures for us to sell it at, or 5. That's a profound position to be in. And I want to congratulate all of you for choosing that for yourselves. This is the Bearable Bull here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. I have another monstrous trade down in my OnlyFans in the description below. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Now guys, I'll be back tomorrow with another video.